Hello there everybody and welcome back to Magna Carta 2. In the last video we found Jeroha the Scout and finished up a couple of the remaining side quests that we had. And before moving on to the castle, I've decided to come back to the Southern Army Outpost because we need to return the food rations to the little girl. And the reason I'm doing this now is because going towards Belfort Castle before completing this and getting your reward for it will actually lock you out of the possibility of completing it. So before you head to the castle, you'll want to make sure that you have done all the side quests in this area. You'll want to do that quest for the little girl, and you'll want to do the quest to get the hides for the woman, along with all the other side quests that I've done in previous videos. And with that done, there's really nothing standing in our way of going towards Belfort Castle, so we should really get on doing that because I've kind of stalled long enough. Off screen, I also went and I bought a lot of items. So I've pretty much completely stocked up. I've purchased additional commons and items as well as some accessories for my characters. I've done my command board, I've allocated my skill points and whatnot. And I did do a little bit of off-screen grinding and I managed to gain 2 or 3 levels. The enemies in this area are still giving me a lot of experience. And if I really wanted to take the time, I think I could do a lot more. But at this point, I'm kind of anxious just to sort of move on with the main story. And when we get to the castle, there is also going to be a lot of prime opportunity for us to gain a couple of levels there as well. So I'm probably not going to stop and fight everything on our way to the castle. I'll fight the enemies that I know give a lot of experience, or the ones that are sort of in my way.
That was just shameful.
And I've changed up my party a little bit. I've put Celestine in because I figured she's probably getting a little bit behind in levels in comparison to the rest of the group. And I have Judo and Crocell, and I'm actually finding that despite the seed fall, this combination is working really well because Celestine and Crocell can attack from afar, and they kind of stay out of danger, and then Judo can do all the heavy hitting in front. So this has actually been quite effective, which is very surprising because you may have noticed that I don't use Celestine a whole lot. But this is a really good opportunity for her to gain a few levels. Okay, so when we get to this area here, we're going to take a left and fork over towards the castle walls first, before we continue on towards the exclamation point. This is a new area. I don't think we've actually ventured this far yet, so there's going to be a couple of chests to pick up. I've also given Judo a accessory that enables us to get a lot more Sid, and this is going to help us so that we can continue to buy a lot of the commons, weapons, accessories, and items because they're getting more and more expensive as time goes on. The money that I did have, I think I had about $70,000, and I did manage to get everything that I needed, but right now I'm pretty much back at zero and I'm extremely broke, so I'm hoping that the supplies that I purchased are going to be able to get me through the castle and whatnot until the next time that I'm able to stop at a store. And I would definitely recommend doing that if you haven't been stocking up on items or you have a little bit of extra gold from all the grinding, then I would really recommend that before moving on to the castle. This is kind of the last opportunity to do a little bit of shopping before we head that way. And if you are a person who likes to grind and takes the time to do it like me, then you're probably finding that you're all caught up in terms of weapons that you've purchased, accessories that you want, commons, etc. So it's completely up to you whether you want to save the money or spend it, but there's not really a whole lot of sense in saving it. So once those enemies are defeated, we can pick up the chest for a Kamond of Transformation. And unfortunately, that's a dead end. It looks like there's too much rubble in the way. It's still going to be a long ways before we're able to get to the castle because there's just dead ends and soldiers everywhere. And the other chest we need to collect is right here, which is very easy to see if you had gone and got that treasure chest first. We shouldn't have to defeat too many more enemies before we are coming up to where we need to be. If you remember, when we had spoken to Jiroha in the last video, he had given us some Whirlwind Bombs, and he had told us that the entrance to the Sentinel Laboratory underneath the castle that we need to go to is underneath one of the statues near the castle walls. So that's what we're going to be looking for. And once we find the statues, we can then use the Whirlwind Bombs on them, and that's going to hopefully reveal the location to us. And at this point, I've done enough leveling that I'm actually above the level of the soldiers. They're still level 50 and I'm 52. And as we get into the Sentinel Laboratory, the enemies should be scaled up and level again, which will give us a little bit more opportunity for a bit of a challenge and to get a couple of more levels.
May glory stay with Lonsheim.
Alright, so here are the statues. They stick out like a sore thumb.
This must be the place that Jiroha told us about. Let's try those Whirlwind Bombs.
And this is perfect because he had given us 3 Whirlwind Bombs and there are exactly 3 statues. So there's no reason to not use the bombs. They don't really serve any other purpose except for destroying these statues. The middle one is going to take you to where you need to go, but if you destroy the 2 on the end, you should be able to get some nice accessories. And they're practically free, so I don't see why you wouldn't want to pick them up. There are some soldiers over there, but that's a completely dead end, so I'm not going to bother fighting them. I'm just going to destroy this statue and move on.
It worked! Hurry, let's get inside!
The lab is on the left. Let's move. The Sentinel Laboratory.
Alright, so we've managed to bust in, and before moving on you may want to save at the pillar. We also got the pillar hacker from Jiroha, which will allow us to hack into the Northern Forces pillars, and I would definitely recommend saving because it's going to be a little while before we see another pillar. And it may be wise to make a separate save because I do believe that at this point you are allowed to go back to the city if you need to, but when you enter the Sentinel Laboratory you're kind of stuck there. So it may be wise to make a save just in case you've missed something or you find that you're ill-prepared before moving on.
So this is the Sentinel Laboratory, huh?
Yeah, this place has a completely different feel than the palace.
Do you know much about this place?
I spent some time here once. It's pretty hazy, but I have memories of it. I still don't remember everything yet. Let's go.
Right.
Just so I'm clear on this, are you sure it's a good idea to waltz into the enemy's home base when we can't use wizardry properly? There's bound to be guards in the lab, too.
The lab is underground, so we'll be fine. The effects of the seed fall shouldn't reach there.
I see. In that case, we can throw everything we have at them.
Alright, so let's get started. If you pull up the map, you can see that this is quite the place. It's somewhat of a simple layout. It looks sort of complicated, but it is actually fairly linear. So our main objective is going to be to look for Zephy, of course, but believe it or not, there are actually a lot of side objectives in this area. It's also a great opportunity to grind, and we are going to be picking up some pretty sweet loot in this place too, so it's very important to be extremely thorough when you come through here. And because it is so linear, it's pretty hard to miss anything. And we shouldn't spend any more than a couple of videos here, so the first thing we're going to do is stop at this first pod here. And if you speak to the people beyond the other side of the door, they'll let you know that they're locked inside, and a card key is needed to open the door. So you have to do this quest as a part of the main storyline, so it's not missable.
Everything down.
And although it says that one of the soldiers has the key, it's always the same soldier. I do believe it's the lab manager soldier, and he should be on the bridge between Laboratory 1 and Laboratory 2, so we're going to gradually make our way over there. I'm going to skip these pods for now. There's another side quest in that pod as well, but we need the card key to open up all of the pods. I would also skip the soldiers if I could, but I find that in this place they're really ruthless and they chase you down, so it's kind of unfortunate. We're gonna have to kind of fight our way through this place, and there is gonna be a lot of fighting, but because it's sort of tight-knit quarters, it's really hard to move around undetected. But if you're a high enough level, you should be able to just tear through these enemies with little to no difficulty, especially considering that you don't have to worry about seed fall. And you can use whatever team you feel like it. All of your wizards will be able to generate con, so it's up to you to use the party that you see fit. So here's the enemy we're looking for. It's the lab officer. He's a bit of a higher level than all of the lackeys around here, but there's not really anything to fear. He's not particularly devastating at all. It's just going to take a little bit longer to kill him. But once he's down, we should be able to pick up that card key, and then we can backtrack a little bit and check out all of those pods. Okay. I'm going to check each individual pod one by one, because if there's not people or quests inside, there's usually some pretty good treasure. So in this pod here, we've got a steel Kamond, and these places are actually quite grotesque because, as you can see, they have a mix of people and beasts that they have in these little pods, I guess you can call them. And I guess these are the vessels that they use in order to create the Sentinels. So that's a little bit dark and disturbing. This whole place is really not a nice place to be. It's very, very eerie. In our second pod here, we have some soldiers to defeat, and we also have a man that's tied up. So what you want to do, of course, is dispose of the soldiers first of all, and then we can speak to the man about doing a side quest. In this area, you're going to see a lot of the Northern Forces soldiers varieties. You're going to see the healers, you're going to see the Trewas, the foot soldiers, the wizards, all of your generic types. of soldiers. So let's open up this chest and then untie Belfort, who looks an awful lot like Jiroha. The first time I saw him, I thought they were the same, but I think that they just used the same sprite. And this guy has a problem. His wife has gone missing. Him and his wife have been held captive, except for that his wife is now being tested on. So he's thinking that because she was only taken away a short while ago, there may still be a little bit of hope in saving her. So we need to go to the control unit in lab number 1 to save his wife. We have a time limit for this mission, and if we fail to do it within the 3-minute time limit, it's an automatic fail. I heard them say that 2 hours would be enough for today, and it's been almost 2 hours. Please, I beg you have to hurry. I don't know its exact location, but I heard them say it was lab number 1. I'll look for the room my wife is being held in. The rest of you get to lab number 1. Okay, so 3 minutes is an absolute crazy amount of time to complete this. You're only going to need about 30 seconds. And if you pull up the map, you can see that Laboratory 1 is just up these stairs that they put you in front of. So they make this very easy for you. I would completely ignore the soldiers and just walk right past them. And then once you enter the lab, you'll have some soldiers to defeat. It's completely up to you whether you want to turn off the device first and fight these soldiers later, or if you want to fight them first and then turn off the device. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I highly doubt it will take any more than a minute to defeat all of these soldiers. I always just defeat them first because they give you so much time to do this. It's practically impossible to fail. So I'm going to take care of them first so that I can turn off the switch and then raid the room in peace. I do see a treasure chest there that I want to pick up before I go. Alright, I think that's all of them. Let's pick up all the loot here. I'll pick up this chest while I'm at it for a topaz, which I think is for Crocell. And then I'll turn off the control unit. So once we've done that, we can return to Belfort for our reward. He moves from the middle pod that you find him in to the bottom pod, because that's where his wife was being held. And hopefully we were able to save her. So we'll go check up on the couple and see how they're doing. It looks like she's alright. Hallelujah. Thanks to you folks, my wife is safe. We'll escape when the time is right. You take care too. I kept this hidden away. You can have it. So we get 3,000 experience along with a couple of really nice rewards. And if you talk to Belfort again, he'll tell you a little bit of information. It looks like the Northern forces have brought in something very valuable. It seemed to be very important. I don't know what it was though. If you take it, it will probably be a boon to the Southern forces. So along the way of our exploration of the pods, we're going to need to look for some sort of valuables that the Northern forces have smuggled in. So we're all done with Belfort's side quests, and now we're able to move on to the first pod and move on with the main objective. Before I do that, however, I think I'm going to stop it here because there are going to be a couple of cutscenes for us to watch before we're able to move on. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I hope that you will be joining me next time.